Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Calvert Hall Strength Conditioning Camp Seminar. We are holding this seminar as a public service to conclude session 1 of our Strength Conditioning Camp that just took place this week, Monday through Thursday. We had outstanding reviews of our camp from parents, so we're very pleased that it all went well. And we're taking this opportunity to share the latest research and best practices in strength conditioning so that parents and coaches can better guide the athletic development of the children that are under their care. My name is Tran, I'm Coach Tran, and I will be speaking on the top 10 exercises youth athletes need to perform regularly. I'm the owner and head coach of PT Strength. That is my own personal training business. I specialize in athletic performance for boys and girls, for all sports. For football players, I specialize in football coaching for all positions on the field. And I've also developed a specialty in adult women's fitness, helping adult women achieve their physique, health, and quality of life goals. Here at Calvert Hall, I'm the head football strength conditioning coach and running backs coach at Calvert Hall College High School. I am the National Strength Conditioning Association's Maryland State Director. And without further ado, I'm also a Baylor football letter winner, so that's me right there, back in the day, number 22. Looking really good. I was really blessed to have that experience, being 5'3", officially listed at 137 pounds on the roster. So the fun fact is that during my time at Baylor University, I was actually the smallest player in the Big 12 conference. Back in the day, Texas A&M was in the Big 12 conference, and it is my opinion that they still need to be in the Big 12 conference because not having the Texas A&M rivalry on Thanksgiving, there's something missing right there, because that's a big tradition in Texas. But there was a guy at Texas A&M who was 5'4", 140. So I beat him out by an inch and 3 pounds. Okay. But I always like to say to the kids that are under my tutelage that, number one, the last man on a college football roster is still a really, really good athlete. And that said, I was not even the last man on my own college football roster. I did get to play, so I was very fortunate to have played in a number of games when we were up ahead and they needed to clear the bench. And I did letter in the sport, so I earned a letterman's ring. And I also earned a postgraduate scholarship from Baylor football. So I frequently talk about my college football experiences with kids, not to brag, not to one-up them, but I know that the good Lord has blessed me with some incredible experiences to be a blessing to others. So I'm a living testament that if you really, really want to achieve great things in life, there's a path to success. And I'm here to help kids achieve their dreams. However difficult those dreams may be initially, there's always a path to success if you believe and you're willing to put forth the work to achieve those dreams. And the target audience of my discussion today is, number one, parents of athletes. So I see parents of athletes in the crowd right here, the youth sport coaches and high school sport coaches, not so much because they need to learn this, but more so that they can communicate this with parents of young athletes and also communicate this with youth sport coaches in the feeder programs for their particular schools. What will you learn? You will learn the techniques and coaching cues for a variety of exercises in which youth athletes must demonstrate proficiency in order to be prepared for high school athletics. As a high school football coach, as a strength and conditioning coach, I have seen countless freshmen come in and they are behind the curve because they have never been trained or they've been improperly trained for the first 14 years of their life. Now, I always tell those kids, be encouraged. We can fix all your issues, but the reality is that it's going to take a little bit of time because we can't progress you in your current state. It's going to be unsafe. It's going to heighten your risk of injury. So the first exercise I want to talk about is the squat. So squat is a very, very important basic movement, and here are my coaching cues for the squat. You want to have your feet shoulder width apart right here, with your toes pointed out slightly outwards, eyes up, big chest. Your first movement, you need to push your butt back. Never ever go straight down. I've seen kids go straight down with their squat for their initial movement. And that puts an enormous amount of pressure on your knees, and you're gonna hurt yourself. So you wanna push your butt back, get some clearance, sit back, shift your body weight slightly towards your heels. You can exaggerate the movement by trying to wiggle your toes. And if you can wiggle your toes while you're in a squat position, you know you are properly balanced. Your knees track on top of your toes. So I'm squatting down with my knees right on top of my toes. As low as you can go, you should go as low as you can go. My calves can touch my hamstrings. But if your kids can't touch their calves to their hamstrings yet, that's okay. Everybody's body is built differently. They have different biomechanics, different body types. So not everybody has to go all the way down, but try to have them go down as low as they possibly can based on their body type. And the hip joint should be at least in line with the knee joint at the bottom. Now, super tall athletes, you can let slide a little bit because it's going to be super hard for them to actually get down all the way. But we want to be able to get a good squat in and stand all the way up. Torso angle needs to be parallel with the shin angle. So this is my torso, these are my shins. When I'm squatting down, you want this torso angle to be in line with the shin angle right there. Be perfectly parallel. I've seen kids do this. You don't want to do this, because if this is your squat pattern, by the time we actually load you up with a barbell on your back, you will actually fall over, and that's not going to be fun. And the progression is that I don't even try to load athletes up with a barbell on their back to start. I teach them a goblet squat first, where you're holding a dumbbell out in front. That way, it forces them to really sit back. So now you have an anterior load, it's a front side load, and if you're going to squat down like this, guess what? You're going to fall down. So it teaches kids to sit back. I always try to teach a front squat before I teach a back squat. For some kids, it's really difficult for them to flex their wrists and their forearms, stretch them out like this. So to build up their confidence, sometimes I'll flip it and do back squat before I teach front squat. But you want to get a full hip extension at the top, and keep in mind that you never ever want to see your athletes, your children, do this at any single point in time in the squat. You want the knees to be on top of the feet. This is called valgus, V-A-L-G-U-S. Valgus is a very fancy medical term to talk about the collapsing, the inward collapse of the knees. You've all seen the play where Klay Thompson blew out his knee in the NBA Finals. He got fouled midair, and when he landed, his left foot landed behind him, and with the sheer force of his body going in an opposite direction with all the momentum behind him and gravity pulling him down, his knee buckled from underneath him. What does every single ACL injury look like? What does valgus look like? Exactly. Yes, sir?
Is there a way
to fix that? Yes, there's a way to fix it. It will require you to do a couple things. You can lunge. So have the kids get down in a lunge position and then keep their knee on top of their foot and then just push forward.
Is there a certain reason why they do that? Because I see a lot of kids here do that, they kind of roll in.
Yeah. A lot of it has to deal with the fact that they need to be more flexible up here and be stronger all up in their hips, because you got that inward rotation of the hips right here. Just got to open everything up and then get the knees right on top of their feet. Have your athletes think that when they're squatting down, try to push their knees out right on top, right there. And then there are a couple exercises that they can do to just focus on getting the knees right on top of their feet. I would suggest doing lunging exercises, and then we can also do some hip exercises just to open up the hip right here so that they're not inwardly turned on the hip. But yeah, let me show you a video demonstration right here when I'm actually wearing athletic clothes. Got big chest, torso angles in line with the shin angle, knees on top of the feet. I'm sitting down in the hole. And that's what you want right there. So let me go ahead and move on. Body weight good morning. Hip hinge exercise. I like to tell kids it's low body pulling movement because we talk about low body pushing movements like the squat, upper body pushing movements, upper body pulling movements, and kids wonder, is there a low body pulling movement? Yes, it is. It's the hip hinge right here. So if you got little kids, the easiest way to start training them how to do this properly is to do body weight good morning. Have them put their hands right behind their head, right here. Keep their heads up. Keep the shoulders back. Arch your back. Push the lumbar forward. Hinge at the hips. And you want to keep the flat back throughout the entire movement. A slight knee bend is okay, but we're not squatting. Have them bend over. Don't let them push your head down. Have them keep their head up. In fact, have them get their head pushing against their hands so that they can keep their shoulders up and have them stand up like that. And then once they're good with that, we can actually load them up with a bar on their back or load them up with weight on the front side and do a Romanian deadlift. So we're talking about lunge. Lunge is also a basic movement. It's also a movement that you can actually use to coach sprinting technique. So whenever I train my older adult female clients, I allow them to just slide out like this. Perfectly fine, because in that context, that's really all you need. When we're training athletes, especially young athletes, we want to ingrain proper movement patterns in. So I teach what I call the sprinter technique for the lunge. High knee, calf to the hamstring, dorsiflex to ankle. This is plantar flexion, this is dorsiflexion. I teach kids all the fancy words so they actually know exercise science before they actually know a lot of other stuff. And from here, you want to get opposite arm, opposite leg action going. Relax the elbows at 90 degrees, open palms, relaxed head, look straight ahead, get a big stride, 90 degrees on the front side, 90 degrees on the back side, hover that back knee, look straight ahead, bounce it right back up. And then you're going to do it on the other side as well. Pull that back arm all the way back, hands go ear to hip, ear to hip, ear to hip. Here's the demo in workout clothes. When your athletes are ready, they can hold some weight on their sides. I'm holding dumbbells on the sides right there. Obviously, you can't do the opposite arm, opposite leg action when you are on dumbbells. But if you're doing a warm-up or if you are doing speed work, the body weight lunge is a very important exercise for kids to not only show proficiency, but eventually master. The push-up. I've seen so many kids do the push-up incorrectly. They start out with their hands right above their heads, right there. Or with their butt up in the air, and then they're doing a lot of this nonsense right here. Or maybe their hands are way, way underneath their body right here, and then they're just dropping their butts and sagging their hips like that. First of all, your kids need to be able to maintain a high plank. Shoulders, hips, and knees all need to be in a straight line throughout the entire movement. Your hands start underneath your shoulders. And when you are coming down, your body is slightly shifting forward towards your chest so that your upper arms are in a 45-degree angle in relationship to your body. And then you push out, hands come back underneath the shoulders. If kids are not able to do it from the floor, you can have them do it against the wall so that they can learn the movement pattern and then start getting them on an incline where it takes load off their arms, or they can do push-ups from their knees, anything to get load off their arms and get them moving in the proper direction. I've seen, especially young middle school linemen, they're not going to be able to do a really good push-up because their arms are not very strong and their body is very large. So as a result, their push-up form is totally compromised. And youth coaches, they do a lot of great work, but they're not trained in strength and conditioning, so that's why we're offering this as a public service. It's okay to let them get on their knees. And if any of their teammates want to tease them about it, you as a coach, you have a responsibility to educate kids and tell them that everyone needs to work within their appropriate level. And everyone is going at a different pace. But eventually everyone's going to be able to do the exercises properly and get strong. So here is a demo in workout clothes. I'm perfectly straight, shoulders, hips, and knees. I got a 45-degree angle with my upper arms in relationship to my body, right there. Hands underneath the shoulders, hands to the chest, hands underneath the shoulders. Right there, I could just do this all day, I think. So, let me get out of this right here, and we will move along. Hamstring stretch. So, here's the hamstring stretch. Lots of kids are really, really stiff in their hamstrings, and when they're stiff in their hamstrings, it slows them down. They can't jump as high. They're more prone to injury, and a really, really bad hamstring injury can be chronic, just like a really, really bad groin injury. So you can do it alone. Just find an elevated surface like this. Make sure your toes are pointed forward. Put your foot up on the elevated platform, and then just reach forward with both hands right here. Make sure this knee is locked out. Reach forward. You can have a partner do it. You can have a parent do it. What I would suggest is that you would have the child lay down on the floor. Make sure the back leg is down and in line with the body. You can put a hand on the thigh if it's a very small child. If it's a bigger child who can actually resist, you can try to put a knee gently on the thigh. Always knee to thigh, never knee to knee. And then make sure this leg is locked out. Put a hand on the knee to lock it out. Put a hand on the heel, and then just push back gently to the point of mild discomfort. And then you can just lay down on your back without an elevated surface and just pull your hamstring all the way up. So that's there's 3 ways to do it right there. And then these are all actually individual exercises, but they're all part of the same family. Head and neck. You all are very familiar with the hysteria that's surrounding youth football, youth tackle football in particular, and the concussions that come along with it. As the NSCA Maryland State Director for the past 2 years, I've had to go down to Annapolis and testify against 2 really bad bills that, number one, in 2018 would have banned youth tackle football completely, and in 2019, number 2 would have heavily regulated youth tackle football out of existence. And we need to do our part first as coaches and parents to preach safety for youth football. If we don't, then people who don't know football will try to impose their own vision of what youth tackle football should be or should not be on us. So I want to educate parents and youth sport coaches that there is a way to reduce the severity and incidence of concussions. You need to exercise your head and neck. You have muscles in your head and neck that help stabilize your head. And when kids are wearing a helmet on top of their head, that's a lot of weight right there for a head. The stronger your head and neck is, the better you're going to stabilize your head when you have a helmet on top. It's also going to shorten the acclimatization phase when they have their helmet on, because you're all familiar about how there's an acclimatization phase of how kids have to get acclimated to the helmet before they can actually put shoulder pads on and then put full pads on. Obviously follow all the rules, but if kids have a stronger head and a stronger neck, they will be able to go through the acclimatization phase without a hitch. So, hover your head in supine position. Supine is where you'll just lay down on your back and then just hover your head above the ground. Right here, don't let the back of your head touch the ground. Or if you got bench, you can just hang your head over the bench. And neck flexion, I like to tell kids this is yes ma'am, yes sir, chin to the collar, in a nice, controlled, strict movement. You don't want to jerk around because this defeats the purpose of your head and neck exercises. It's the bobblehead effect, it's the whiplash effect that can cause concussions, in addition to first impact and second impact on the ground. We want to be able to reduce that whiplash effect by stabilizing our head with much stronger head and neck muscles. Neck rotation, I call that no ma'am, no sir. Look to the left, look to the right, lateral neck flexion. I call it side to side like a dog. Sometimes you notice dogs like to look at you and go a little bit of this right there. Ear to the shoulder. Look straight here, head, ear to the shoulder, ear to the shoulder, ear to the shoulder. And then we have neck protrusion in and out like a bird. Stick your neck out. And then finally, roll over onto your stomach in the prone position. Hover your head so your nose is to the ground but not touching the ground. Or if you got a bench, you just hang your head over the bench and then lift your head up. I'm a proponent of the body weight versions of these exercises. It's cheap. You don't have to buy any equipment. There is an iron neck contraption out there where you strap the weight on your head and there's a rubber band. That costs a lot of money. You don't need that at the youth level. They have 4-way neck machines that you can buy for a weight room. I have never seen a high school use the 4-way neck machine properly. Kids load up 45 pounds on the machine, and next thing they do this. It's not working out your neck, folks. So the body weight versions are much better. Have your kids do this every single day when they are in football practice, especially youth football players. Have them keep their helmet on at the end of practice and just lay down, cover their head, and do it with the helmet. So the helmet, in addition to gravity, will create a reasonable amount of resistance to help them strengthen their head and neck. I will show you what this looks like in workout clothes. Here is the neck flexion. I'm hanging off the bench, so I actually can have a greater range of motion. And then here is the neck rotation. Once again, I am hanging off the bench, looking to the left, looking to the right. I have lateral neck flexion, side to side like a dog, ear to shoulder, ear to shoulder. That neck protrusion, in and out like a bird. Stick your neck out. Moving along, I know this presentation was the top 10 exercises. Either I can't count, or I think there's more than 10 important exercises for youth athletes to perform on a regular basis so that they can enter high school and be confident to compete. We need to talk about a pulling movement, upper body pulling movement. Not everybody has a pull-up bar in their house, so I understand that. But I also understand that everybody is in a different financial situation. Not everybody's able to afford all sorts of contraptions, and that's okay. I like to design workouts so that they are accessible to all, so that regardless of any family's financial situation, they can still get the workouts done. So, for youth athletes, get a 5-pound bag of potatoes. Everybody's going to eat potatoes. Get a 5-pound bag of potatoes, and that's going to be your weight that we're going to do. And for bent over row, have the child bend over right here. They should be doing body weight good morning, so they should understand how to lock in all the back muscles to keep that flat back, keep that neutral spine. And then grab a bag of potatoes, lift it up to their chest, just like that. And the upright row, same concept, except now you're standing fully upright, and you're pulling that bag of potatoes all the way up to your chin. 5 pounds, it's no big deal. When kids are running around during recess playing on the playground, the sheer amount of forces that's being exerted on their body with them running around in all different directions is probably a lot more than 5 pounds. So as long as we can just teach kids how to move properly, they will be okay. This is my contact information if you need to get hold of me. That's my phone number, it's my email address. I specialize in athletic performance, football coaching, and women's fitness for the public. So if anybody's interested in that, we'll talk about that. I'm also on social media. You can find me at Tran22 on all major social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. So like, subscribe, follow. I would greatly appreciate that. And finally, just want to send my appreciation to everyone who's in the building today, and also appreciate all of my athletes, clients, and colleagues. Every single year I create my own Christmas card, and it is a collage of all of my athletes, my clients, my colleagues, some of my dear friends, just to celebrate the gift, because I'm a devout Christian, and up top right here, 2 Corinthians 9:15, thanks be to God for his indescribable gift. In context, it's talking about some greater eternal things, but in this context here, this is the indescribable gift, the opportunity for me to impact the lives of young men and women and help put them on the path to success, not only physically, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I am willing to take my time to help out kids any way I can. Do we have any questions? No questions. If I was able to answer all your questions during this presentation, greatly appreciate your. Oh, yes, Ms. Teal.
Is there any type of certification for youth football coaches, like say that they get educated on before they start working with athletes?
USA Football, the governing body and national federation for the sport of American football, has a couple of certifications out there. More so in regards to technique and the safety behind all the technique. They have a class on a tackling system. I think they do have a class on concussions, I'm pretty sure. And I know a lot of high schools, they're part of the NFHS. If you want to coach at the high school level, especially in public schools. I used to coach in public schools. Everybody had to go through NFHS training in order to learn about concussion management, concussion identification. Now, whether or not those classes are effective, it's been a long time since I've actually taken an NFHS course. It's not required for private schools, which I think that's also a conversation you need to have at the private school level as well. But it's very important that coaches, because not every team out there, especially youth football teams, I'm pretty sure most of them do not have the benefit of having a top-notch athletic trainer on the field at all times, at every single practice. And with all the medical issues that can arise during a youth football practice, if coaches are not well trained in concussion management, identifying key illnesses, and knowing at least a general idea of what type of injuries might be happening on certain plays, then it does heighten the injury risk for kids. And that's not what we want to do. We want to be on the front lines. We want to take care of each other. We want to take care of our sport. We want to govern ourselves. So that's why I, in my capacity as a coach, but also in my capacity as an NSCA Maryland State Director, I want to take the opportunity to just offer free information for the public to help you out in any way that I can. And I'm an open book, and I got an open line. So anybody who wants to reach out to me via email, phone call, or in person and ask me any questions, I'm happy to help out. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find somebody who does, because I do have a very extensive network of coaches and medical professionals all across the country, and we help each other out. We educate each other as well. So want to make sure that our kids have a very safe, healthy, happy, enjoyable, and very effective athletic experience. The experiences that our kids receive during their youth can sustain them throughout the course of their entire life. So I'm a firm believer in helping our kids through sports. Any other questions? I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.